Welcome back to the NFL Divisional Round. We got predictions for this weekend's matchups. We got 4 games, all very impactful and very interesting matchups. Let's get right into this. Number 1 on Saturday, 3:30, the Houston Texans at the number 1 seed Baltimore Ravens. Houston's been a big shocker this entire season. CJ Stroud, oh my goodness, he's a dog, man. Coming in as a rookie, playing the way he has and being so comfortable in the pocket, making the right plays. It's truly insane to see CJ go off like this. And he was my fantasy quarterback, so, I love CJ. He's awesome. But it should be a very interesting matchup to go against this Baltimore defense. They basically have the number 1 defense in the entire league. And it starts with that first 4 front. They got some dogs up there. And it's going to be really interesting to see how they utilize the running backs for Houston. You got Devin Singletary, who had a great game last week. He's been pretty solid for the team the entire year. I expect them to really be pounding the ball, try to break that front group of the Baltimore Ravens. That's how you start to crack them down on defense. Because you got to watch out for those linebackers too. Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen. Those are very scary linebackers to go against. So if they can fill those gaps up early and Baltimore gets there quick, expect CJ to start throwing the ball a lot more or maybe taking it himself. Now, speaking of CJ, last week in the wild card game, here are his stats. 274 yards passing, 3 tutties, and 157.2 rating, which is insane. He had the same as Jordan Love, and they had 0 sacks last week, going against a really good pass rush in terms of the Cleveland Browns defense, who has Myles Garrett on it, and just a really solid defense all around. So it was pretty interesting to see how that Texans front group held up with the pressure, but that was in Houston. Things have changed. It's in Baltimore. You're against a lot more dynamic team, especially on the offensive end. Joe Flacco's not throwing 2 picks this weekend. You got Action Jackson. So let's get to MVP Action Jackson. They have the best rushing offense in the league. And you can see why. He's a dual threat. He can throw out or he can roll out, throw it in play action if he has to, down to Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews when he was healthy, or a few other guys in the receiver group. Otherwise, they run it. Before J.K. Dobbins got hurt, whew, my goodness. But, of course, J.K. goes down. Who's there next? Gus Edwards. He's been picking up the slack where the running backs need to get going for them, and they've been totally fine with the absence of J.K. Dobbins. Now, Lamar, he isn't running it as much, but there's a reason why. They don't need to. Now he's becoming more of a passer, and that is super scary for the league. If you can't stop them in the rush, you can't stop Lamar running, and now he's starting to throw it really accurately, that is bad news for the AFC. They're going to have a tough time competing with them and trying to take down Baltimore, especially with them being the 1 seed and having home field advantage. Speaking of turnovers and the Ravens offense, well, they've only had 6 2-turnover games, and their record is 2 wins, 4 losses. So if the Texans can force 2 turnovers, they're already looking in a good spot, but it's really going to come down to turnovers here. CJ, you got to protect the ball. CJ cannot afford to throw any interceptions. He's got to play a clean game. Really rely on that running attack to get going. But if you look at Houston's offense, they got a lot of dynamic receivers as well. So it should be very interesting to watch how this all goes down. Now, my score prediction is 21-17. I got Baltimore, but I was really fighting to go against that and go with Texans because I think they could pull the upset. But, against this Baltimore team, number 1 seed at home, the defense, the offense, the way they're playing, I got to go to Baltimore, but I would not be shocked if the Texans do win. Let me know your thoughts about this game below. Let's get to Saturday night's game. Now, this is my Green Bay Packers at the San Francisco 49ers, a 7:15 kickoff time. Should be a very exciting game, I hope. Being a Packers fan, I have horrible memories of playing the 49ers in the playoffs. Rodgers being 0-4 against them in the playoffs. I was there at that last one where Robbie Gould got the game-winning field goal. I was sick. And I hate the 49ers, man. I hope we just punch them in the mouth. I'm sorry, but let's get right into this. Enough about my takes. So first things first, San Fran's got a top 3 offense and defense. All around a solid team with all pros almost at every position, offense and defense. So a really veteran team that's very good going against a very young and explosive team. I think the experience will definitely come into play, and it's a grown man's game. I mean, we're still very young going against an older group, and it's going to be very physical from the San Fran front. So starting up front, being physical, stopping Christian McCaffrey. When Christian McCaffrey has 75 plus rushing yards, San Fran is 10-1. So last week we held Tony Pollard to under 60, I believe. That's where it starts. You got to stop them right away with that front in terms of Kenny Clark, Carl Brooks, Lucas Van Ness, Preston Smith, Rashawn Gary. Starts with those guys. And then our linebackers, Quay Walker and Devondre Campbell. Now, I expect Quay Walker to be all over watching Christian and really be on assignment for Christian. Quay's a lot quicker. He's great at tackling. Expect Quay to be really lined up against McCaffrey a lot. Love versus Purdy. Now, Jordan Love is one of the hottest quarterbacks in the NFL right now, and we all know that. But Brock Purdy is still no bomb. This man was MVP candidate the last 2 years. So he's been putting up stats. He's playing efficiently in the San Fran offense and has brought them the number 1 seed, and they look almost like the best team in the NFL next to the Ravens. So props off to Brock Purdy. But in the wild card, this is what Jordan Love did against that good number 2 seed Dallas Cowboys. 273 yards, 3 tuds, and 157.2 rating. It was almost like CJ and Love had the exact same stats, literally. Really weird. I mean, I'm looking at it right now, and literally, Love has 2 yards less. They have the same rating, which is crazy. It's pretty cool. Which is the most that rating that Love got was the most in Packers playoff history. That's better than Bart Starr, Aaron Rodgers, and Brett Favre. That is insane. His first playoff game ever, he had the best rating in Packers playoff history. That's incredible. So it should be a really good game. You got McCaffrey versus Jones, Love versus Purdy. Speaking of Aaron Jones, let's get into this. He's had 4 straight games with 110 plus rushing yards. That is insane. That is insane to think about. Now, going against this defense for the San Francisco 49ers, they got a really good front as well. They're not no scrubs. They have Kinlaw, they have Warner, they have Bosa, they have Clowney, they have Hargrave. They have a lot of guys up front that are going to get at it and make explosive plays, tackles. So it comes down to this young Packers offensive line stepping up, protecting Jordan Love, protecting Aaron Jones, really getting a hold of these 49ers defensive linemen. Because if we can stop them, I mean, we allowed 0 sacks last week against the Cowboys. And the Cowboys got a good front as well. Almost incomparable to the San Francisco 49ers. So it should be interesting to see how this O-line reacts to this pass rush, this rushing attack, this rushing defense for the San Francisco 49ers. Like the last game I was talking about, turnovers will predict the outcome of this game. Last week, the Packers managed to get 2 interceptions versus the Dallas Cowboys, which all season long the Packers have not been able to get a lot of turnovers and interceptions, while on the other hand, San Fran has the most interceptions on the year with Ward back there. They have some ballers, especially in the secondary. You got to watch out for that. I expect them, honestly, I don't expect them to throw over the middle too much because those linebackers they have for San Fran. I expect, if anything, a lot of out routes, probably some deep fly routes with Romeo or Seawat. I expect Seawat to have a big game this week. Watch out for him as a deep threat. You know, I'm a Packers fan, so I always got to be faithful. Not 49ers faithful, Packers faithful. So I got the Packers winning 30-27. I think it's going to be a very, very tough game for us. But if we can beat them, that's the score it's going to be, I feel. Let me know your thoughts. Go Pack, go. Sunday, 2:30, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield against the Lions with Jared Goff. Hey, Lions are 7-2 at home this year. Tampa has won 3 straight road games. They're a big-time threat coming in on the road. I'm expecting this to be a duel, man. This is going to be crazy. Let's get right into this. Quarterback pressure is going to be a big thing, I think. Jared Goff in the wild card, he had 277 yards, 1 tutty, and 121.8 rating. Bake, 337 yards, 3 tutties, and 119.8 rating. Overall, Bake had a way better day in terms of pass yards, touchdowns. He was a little bit less in rating, but he's got a lot of weapons. If you look at this Tampa offense, you have Mike Evans, Rasul Gage, Chris Godwin. I mean, those are already some great receivers they have, and they have some other smaller receivers as well that don't get as much props as they should. Plus, they got Rashawn White in the backfield running that thing. I mean, this Tampa offense is very dynamic. They can do a lot of different things, and Bake looks so comfortable in that offense. He knows how to play that offense so well, and it just suits his ability. First things first, which when we played Tampa at Lambeau, it didn't work out. We didn't get pressure on Bake. You got to get pressure on Bake right away. And Aiden Hutchinson, he just had 7 sacks in the last 3 games. You got to get Aiden Hutchinson getting the Bake early, making him feel comfortable so that they can try to run it. Speaking of running, the Lions have one of the better running defenses in the league this year. Yes, they have struggled sometimes, but for the most part, they've been pretty solid on run stopping. If they can get pressure on Bake early, they run the ball, stop them. Lions are looking pretty good. Let's switch to the Lions offense. They have a lot of weapons as well. You have Jahmyr Gibbs, David Montgomery, Amon St. Brown. You have Laporta. There's a plethora of threats and receivers. Josh Reynolds. There's a plethora of receivers, running backs, tight ends you can throw it to. Lions are very stacked, but the Tampa defense, no scrubs either. Just remember, 3 years ago, that defense won them a Super Bowl. We can't count that defense out. They still got a lot of very good, savvy veterans on there that know how to go, make plays, get the ball. Now, I expect a couple turnovers to be made by this team. It's going to be a dogfight from the beginning to the very end. It's going to be very physical, and I cannot wait to watch this one. Tampa's defense is more prone to blitzing than some of the other teams in the NFL. Now, you got to be careful when doing that, especially with Detroit, considering all the options they have. They start blitzing, they literally could just have Jahmyr Gibbs roll out, quick little pass to him, and he can go the house. Very explosive player. Tampa, I expect him not to blitz as much this game. It will probably be more of a front four type deal or sending one linebacker in, not the whole house. Now, back to what I said of both offenses being very good. Which receiver do you cover? Amon-Ra in the wildcard game, he had 110 receiving yards, Pro Bowl snub, and one of the best receivers in the league, in my opinions, in terms of athleticism and skill. But on the other end, you have Mike Evans, who has the most touchdowns on the year for a receiver, and another 1,000-yard season. Just so consistent from Mike Evans. Speaking of 1,000-yard seasons, Chris Godwin, another 1,000-yard season for Chris Godwin as well. So either way you want to look at it, they got a lot of guys that can get the ball and make massive plays. I expect them to throw the ball a little bit more this game, just because the fronts for both teams are very good. So with this one, the Lions taking this one, 27-23. I could see Tampa going in there winning, but I mean, I just think this Lions crew is clicking. I think the defense will step up. I don't know. I just like the Lions a little bit more. Plus, I kind of want to see the Lions in the championship game. So I won't be surprised if Tampa did win, but I do expect the Lions to win. Let me know your thoughts below. This could be the game of the entire weekend. Sunday night, we have the Chiefs, the reigning Super Bowl champions, at the Buffalo Bills. Now, we all know the history of the Chiefs and Bills in postseason. The Bills are 0-2 versus Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. But guess what? That was in Patty's house. Now, we're in Buffalo for this one. Let's get right into these notes. This is Kansas City's first playoff road game with Patrick Mahomes' era. That is insane to think about. When you think about home field advantage, it's truly incredible. Now we can see why the Chiefs might get knocked off because of that one thing. The last 4 home games for the Buffalo Bills, they have scored 27 plus. That is insane. And Allen has a career high in interceptions, which is a scary thing, but he leads the NFL in touchdowns. Give or take, he scores a lot, but he throws a lot of picks. Allen, you got to take care of the ball this week, bud. I expect a big game from James Cook, considering he had a monstrous game receiving, running last week. I expect them to go right back to him to take that pressure off Josh and the other guys on the offense. Can't just rely on Josh, keep gunning it downfield. They're trying to run because he's going to either fumble it, take hits, throw a pick. It gets tipped off the guy's hands, gets picked. Bills, keep it simple. James Cook, utilize him. In the wild card round, Allen went off. He had 203 yards, 3 tutties, and 121.9 rating. Crazy. 74 yards rushing and a tutty rushing. That's insane by a quarterback to do in a wild card game. So I expect him to put up more stats, but this isn't the Steelers' defense. This is the Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs' defense is a lot different. They got Chris Jones up front. They got a solid front group, but it starts with Chris Jones. Then you move into their secondary. L'Jarius Sneed, lockdown week last week, making his weekend a nightmare. So I expect Sneed on Diggs. Then when you look at it, Chris Jones, he's got to get to Cook. When you look at the linebackers for Kansas City, can they cover James Cook? Or can they cover Dalton Kincaid and Knox? I don't know. But they're going to be put to the test. I think it could be a really good scoring game. It's funny because when you look at both defenses, they're kind of similar. Both got a few really good players. There's some areas where they need help in. The offenses, they're both pretty high-powered. When they get going and they're hot, very high-powered offenses. So I expect it to be more of an offensive game this weekend. Let's get to Patty now, the offensively. Speaking of heating up. In the wild card, Patty had 262 yards, a tutty, and a rating of 83.6. So not the craziest game, but they still got the job done. Their defense put up 2 pick sixes last week. So the defense is feeling it, the offense is feeling it. This could be a great combination for the Chiefs going into this game. Now, the Chiefs and Bills did play earlier this season in Kansas City, and that game was very different. I remember Kelsey throwing it back to Kadarius Toney, and they called him what? It was illegal formation on Toney, and the Chiefs ended up losing it, and that's when Mahomes said, "This is beep." So, yeah. Different game, though, in Buffalo, but stats for that last game. Patty versus the Bills in that game, 271 yards, a tutty, and interception, 74.9. So not too good of a game. It was very tight. Allen in that game, 233 yards, a tutty, an interception, and a rating of 68.6. So kind of similar to Patty, both these teams really struggle against each other offensively, and those defenses tend to step up more. It's almost like a divisional game when you think about it. It gets that rivalry. The teams know each other a little bit more, so they play a little bit more compatible to each other, so it's not as high scoring. They already know the offensive schemes majority because they see each other almost twice a year anyway, regular season and playoffs. In this one, man, I'm sorry, but I love Buffalo in this one. 30-17, I got the Bills at home. Bills Mafia, let's go. Recap everything. I got the Ravens at home versus the Texans, 21-17, even though I could see the Texans pulling an upset there. Last drive, game-winning drive by CJ. I could see that. Packers on the road in San Fran. I got the Pack 30-27. Always believe in my team no matter what. Gotta believe. Buccaneers at the Lions. I got the Lions 27-23. And then Chiefs at Bills. I got the Bills kind of in a blowout win, 30-17. Let me know your guys' comments, reactions, predictions. See you guys next week for the championship. Go Pack, go.